This is Conversations with a Citizen. I'm your host, Tia Carol Jones. I'm here today with Dominique Leach, owner of Lexington Betty Smokehouse. Dominique, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, Tia.
Thanks so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Where do I start? I am a chef here in Chicago, one of the best food cities in the world. I own Lexington Betty Smokehouse, and the company's ran by my wife and I, Tanisha. And ultimately, I'm just a determined, hardworking person. I don't have a whole lot going on outside of the company right now, just because, as you know, we reopened. Our what used to be food hall location is now our only brick and mortar in the city. And so I've just been putting a lot of energy and effort towards the quality and standards that I want representing the company.
Okay. How did you get your start as a restaurant owner?
Well, I guess, it was just, I was at a point in my life where I was just tired of talking about what it is I want out of life, and just decided to, I guess, make some sacrifices to get to where I wanted to be. And so my last job was at the Four Seasons Hotel, which is a good last job to have if you're gonna start a business in the food industry. And so, wherever I've worked, I just did my best to be a sponge, to collect energy and absorb information. At the time, I didn't know what it would all be for, but it all makes sense now. It was all honing me to be where I am today. And, the industry was very whitewashed, if I can say that. But also very much so a boys club, and there's not a lot of people that look like me that have been allowed to make a stamp in the industry. I use the word allowed because it just often felt like it was being controlled in a certain way. And so I've always been rebellious, and always been into being the first of something or breaking barriers in some way. And I would look around me, and I knew that I'd gained enough experience working as a chef where I personally felt like I was a great competitor in the business, and what I considered one of the best as far as what I can see. And so I knew that I needed to do something with the talent and be an example to someone else that kind of went through the hardships that I did working in different hotels and restaurants. And I guess in the beginning it felt like I needed to prove something to someone, or just prove that I was capable of, being recognized as quality talent, or just someone that was, an asset to the business. Because although I knew it, a lot of times it felt like people around me would maybe ignore it just so, I wouldn't feel good that day, or so I wouldn't feel special about what it is I had to bring to the table.
When did you know you wanted a career in the food industry and in the restaurant industry?
It was pretty premature. When I was about to finish high school, and I was just like, what am I gonna do? Wasn't a excellent student. I did probably, in hindsight, looking back, I probably did just enough to get by. Like, I made sure, I kept my grades up. There was always basketball that encouraged me through the 4 years of high school. I knew I had to keep the grades to play on the team. So, so the grades were there, but it was just enough to get by. I wasn't really inspired by anything. And, high school is a time where you're just really trying to figure out who you are in life. And I came out of the closet when I was in high school, so there was a lot of obstacles in front of, what my future looks like. I was a lot, invested in the now, just because that was a lot to figure out. But, I just wanted to do something that was fun and something that didn't feel like I was forcing myself to do every day. And it worked out. It's always it's always been fun. I've always been determined. I guess the mindset of always trying to, like, I was always the underdog. So there was never a time where I wasn't trying to prove something to somebody. Like, I want to prove something to my mom, so she sees that there's value in me past the arguments that we're getting into over my sexuality. I want to prove something to my siblings, so they know that I'm more than just the gay joke they keep making. You know, I wanted to prove more to the administration in high school, you know, that just shunned upon, you know, me kind of being one of the first girls to, like, come out and be public about it. So I just felt like I had a lot of myself to show people because they weren't seeing past the gay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You named Lexington Betty Smokehouse after your grandmother, Betty King. How much of an impact did she have on you wanting to become a chef?
My grandmother, Betty King, she's like just a breath of fresh air. She is so full of life, and she's a great storyteller, and just the stories about her past and things that she's been through living in very racist Lexington, Mississippi. You know, I just wanted to be able to give her something to be proud of. And so when I came up with the name of the company, I knew it had to be something with substance and something that meant something to me, because this would be the beginning of something that I needed to see completely through. And so, you know, a lot of times I can't put my finger on what the big picture is going to look like, but oftentimes I feel like there's just something gravitating me towards, like, just making accurate decisions, because it always just feels like the beginning of something that can be special. And the name of the company was that exactly. And so she's so excited about it. She comes to the restaurant and tell people, I am the Lexington Betty.
Okay, so you need a selfie booth just for Lexington Betty.
She is something special. Like, she comes to the restaurant, she dances. She asked me, "Who's your DJ?" We just playing music, but she wanted to hear the staples. So yes, you know, I love her, and I just wanted to be able to you know, highlight her and you know, just ultimately give her the legacy that she deserves. She's more than just a woman. She's more than just a grandmother or a mother. She's someone who has grit and history and has just been through so much in her life, so many adversities, and you know, she needed to be highlighted and put on a pedestal. And so I'm glad she's here to see it all unfold.
That's great. In 2017, Lexington Betty Smokehouse started as a food truck, then a catering company, and now it is a storefront at 111 Food Hall. You've appeared on national morning shows and served as a judge on Food Network, which I thought was pretty cool. I'm a big foodie. What do you think about the trajectory of your life and your business?
So the trajectory of my life, I feel like, you know, I'm proud of myself and what I've been able to accomplish. And from a industry standpoint, when I think about the trajectory of the company, I think it is pretty impressive. I really do. You know, I went into culinary school right out of high school. And so I like to tell people I was kind of like raised in this industry, you know, it's all I've ever done. And so, you know, I've seen the in and outs of the business and how it works, and, you know, what gets you the attention, what gets you the longevity in the business. And so when I step outside of myself and think about Lexington Betty and the evolution of it, impressive is the word that comes to mind.
So we've talked before, and in 2020, you told me that you wanted a space in 111 Food Hall. You wanted that space in 111 Food Hall to be the stepping stone to a storefront in Pullman, and you've done that. And you also told me that you wanted to open 5 locations of Lexington Betty Smokehouse. How close are you to realizing that goal?
So I don't know if you knew this, Tia, but I had 3 locations until February, and we were kind of forced to close North Avenue in a hurry. The location in the Old County Hospital was just not giving what it was supposed to. It's a brand new location in a hotel during a pandemic. A lot of ups and downs with the mask mandate. It's in a medical district, so I would imagine doctors and nurses are being conscious about where they travel to eat. And the no dining in just I think ultimately kind of took a lot from that location, because when we opened it, it was immediately my busiest location. I thought I might have bit off more than I can chew. And then the bottom just fell out of the place, And so I made the decision to close that one. But there was a time where I was like, man, if I have to close a location, which one would it be? But the stars really aligned for me. North Avenue, a pipe broke, and the landlord was just kind of done investing into the building. In fact, she sold it since, So we moved out because she was selling the building, and then, I closed the one at the county hospital. So closed 2 locations in February. At the time I felt like we were on a good roll to that goal. Took a lot of time and effort, so much hard work, tears, sweat, you name it, and sacrifices. So I'm glad I got the feel of everything that it takes to operate 3. I wish there were 3 of me. It would have been a lot easier. But to think about 5, because I've been at 3, challenging would be the word that comes to mind. When I do interviews, everybody asks the E word, the expansion. Where what's the next plan for expansion? And I don't think of closing the 2 as a setback by any means. It just happened to happen in a time where the world was kind of upside down. We're still recovering from COVID, and I'm sure we will be for the next few years. But it wasn't just the lack of business, but outside of the pandemic, there has been this epidemic of just people not wanting to work. Or I think ultimately a lot of people have just kind of embodied a different way of life that I certainly promote, because we need and have been yearning for something different for a long time. But I happened to own 3 locations at the time. And so people not showing up for work means that my wife and I were being, spread between 3 locations. My wife would open the 111 Food Hall location and then run to Dr. Murphy's and close that location. And it was just not realistic for longevity. I knew when I started the business, we had to be smart, or we would do like so many other companies and just burn ourselves out. But also, 111 Food Hall became vacant, and the opportunity presented itself. C&I asked us if we wanted to take over the entire space. There were some things I would need to make that happen. We had several meetings. They seen to it that we were able to put a walk-in cooler in. Obviously, we're a catering company, so we need a walk-in cooler to support the amount of business that we're accustomed to getting. That and signage for the building, and then we went the extra mile by doing some remodeling inside to, just make it help it embody the concept of Lexington Betty Smokehouse. And so phase 1 is finished, and we reopened on April 30th, and I have no desire to have another location at this time.
Okay.
I can see it presenting itself at some time, but this is a really special time for us, because just like this time, or just like so many other times, it really feels like everything leading to this point makes complete sense. And this one location is busier than the 3 were combined.
Okay.
And it really helped that I was able to promote the Food Network show, or Food Network Canada show, simultaneously with the opening on April 30th. So the marketing certainly paid off, and it keeps us extremely busy. Mm-hmm.
It's a relatively large space.
Yeah, it's a large space, so we're going to be utilizing it for events as well.
Oh, okay.
And we have one coming up for Juneteenth. We're doing a day party, and then on July 6th, we have a comedy show.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of talked about it a little bit, but if you could expand a little bit more on what you learned about the nature of the restaurant industry and the food industry, and how something like a pandemic can affect restaurants.
Yeah, I've been sitting on this question particularly. Man, a pandemic can certainly turn things upside down. I really don't know what the accurate answer to that would be. I'm still figuring it out, obviously, because we're still trying to repair from a lot of the change that happened or was forced upon us because of the pandemic. But one thing I've learned is, like, keep business solid. And I guess relationships in business are as important. So although we were able to recover in like some ways pertaining to like catering, being on vendors lists and things like that, my restaurant, for example, the hours are from 11 to 7, and ideally we would have hoped to expand them by the time we got into the summer hours, just because it's a restaurant, it's a big space, we want to make a vibe out of it. But staffing is still a big issue, and I don't want to take away from the standards that I mentioned that I have in mind for the company. The customer service, I don't want to spread us thin again, and we just kind of like fall below the waist with some of the things that are important to me. And I know service is really important to me when I think about a lot of companies in our communities. And there's just the cliche of black-owned businesses not having great service. And although that's not the case at every restaurant, I do want to be able to provide something consistent and special that Pullman, or even just the South Side in general, has not seen. Or I just want to put our flavor on the industry and figure things out around that. And I guess the increase in hours will come at some point. But, like I said, we're still repairing from the damage of the pandemic and the staffing epidemic that follows it.
You and your wife, Tanisha, run Lexington Betty Smokehouse together. How does that dynamic work?
Oh, she thinks she's the chef. Yeah. That's how it works. She thinks she knows everything. But I wouldn't have gotten this far without her. She comes from a different industry, and so she's seen a lot of things where she's just like, this is all just crazy. Chefs are crazy. Like, to have a restaurant is crazy. She's right. She's absolutely right. You have to be a certain type of person. But we work together well in hindsight. We get up, we get to work. I typically like to get in earlier than her, but she's in charge. So, we get in with enough time to be efficient, and that's the most important thing. And we, just play off of each other. She has her role, I have mine. If I had to do, payroll, I wouldn't be able to. But, there's some things that I can do that she wouldn't be able to do. But I gotta tell you this. There's been a lot of times where I've gone to restaurants of different cultures, and let's say like at a taco restaurant, for example. You go into this place to get great tacos all the time, and the husband is making the tacos every day for as long as you've been going. And then one day you see, oh, the wife is making tacos now. And I always said, I hope Tanisha and I can get to that point one day. And it kind of seemed far-fetched for a long time, but now she's my best sous chef.
Really?
Like, I can take a day off, I can go out of town and handle business, and she is the best replacement for me. And so she deserves a lot of kudos and respect for all of her hard work and for, you know, being kind of receptive to my teachings. Kind of. She's receptive when she wants to be. But ultimately she likes to give me a hard time, but it keeps me on my toes. But yeah, we can be opposites in some ways, and then in other ways we just really complement each other well. And you know, she left her job to come and work for the company full time after the food truck was set on fire.
Okay.
Yeah, and she didn't tell me at the time, but when we later discussed it, she said she thought that she was losing me. But I didn't realize I was depressed after that happened, because I, you know, gotten up the next day, responding to emails. I continued to work. I was just optimistic, you know.
Okay.
And but you know, I think probably like maybe 6 weeks in, after I couldn't bother State Farm anymore about, you know, what was the next move, I realized, like, wow, you know, like, you just went through a lot, you know? And I really feel like she was just like, you know, pulling me along and just being as supportive. A lot of times she would come in the kitchen and just sit, and she would see me like growing in frustration just because, you know, maybe I was busy or something. And she'd be like, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, well, I guess I'll need time to teach you. Because I don't know what you could do to help me. And now, you know, we're side by side putting out caterings, and yeah, she rocks it out on the line, you know. We do whatever it takes. And a lot of times she feels like, you know, well, she's most certainly not in the shadows of all of this. Obviously, I'm the face of the brand. So I want her to know how important she is to the trajectory of this company. And you know, her sacrifices are certainly admirable, and just, you know, I appreciate her tremendously.
What advice would you give other aspiring Black chefs who want to own their own restaurants?
Think about it. Just think about it first. No, but man, you know, just be passionate. Be passionate. Be consistent. Never be too stubborn to, you know, stop learning or stop being that sponge, because I guess you're only as great as your last dish. So, you know, we need to always be students. You know, be humble and just give it your all. You know, if you're great and you know you're great, you embody that, wear it on your sleeve so everybody knows you're great. You know, so many people just didn't expect me to do anything, didn't want me to do anything, just because of what they had built up my character or who I am as a person in their minds. And I personally do not like to be marginalized. I don't keep myself in circles of people that don't see me in the light that I want to be seen in. And I think that's really important. I like to be around people that inspire me. I like to inspire people that are around me, and us feed off of each other's energy. And so I think if you're aspiring to be a chef, and chefs are teachers, then you need to have all of those qualities so that you can teach something to the next Black or brown kid that, you know, wants to play this role at some point. And that's a huge part of why this is so important to me, because our kids need examples. I didn't have a Black female chef that I was able to go to and talk to and ask advice, or how do you do this? What do you do when you get to this point? This has all been like, you know, it'll be a good book one day, but it's I certainly had to write up the blueprint because I just didn't have an example. And so, you know, I just want to be an example to somebody that you can make something out of nothing, you know, nothing at all. Just hard work and a lot of times that hard work looks like just like labor hours, and you know, a lot of times it's hard to save money. But again, when I was sick of talking about what I wanted to do in my life, I was fortunate enough to save enough money to buy a building. In that building, I put tenants in it. I lived in the building. The tenants, you know, took care of the mortgage. I was able to save money and get a food truck. And so you got to make sacrifices, and you have to be honest with people that you're teaching, because unfortunately a lot of young kids kind of have the microwave mentality, and you know, nothing worth having is gonna come overnight, I guess, you know. And my grandmother told me, baby, wasn't nothing built overnight. And so I keep that with me, you know, because I can be impatient myself. But you know, I know that the pace that I've been moving at as you know, it's certainly paid off. And a lot of times it didn't seem like there was a big picture that would get me to this point, or a big picture that would like represent something. I feel like I'm representation today for several people that look like me, people that feel like me, people that have been through what I've been through, LGBTQ, and just anybody with black skin. I want to be representation for our people, that we can be great and overcome adversities and just be as big as we want to be at whatever it is we love. And so my advice would be just love what you do and be consistent at it, and it'll work out.
Where can people go to find out more about you and Lexington Betty Smokehouse?
Well, I smiled yesterday because my dishwasher told me, he told me that, he's like, I seen you on an episode of Fire Masters. And I was like, no, you didn't. And he's like, yes, I did. I said, well, how? I said, it's only showing in Canada. And he said, I have a fire stick. I said, oh, tell me more. He was like, yeah, he's like, I just coincidentally turned on the episode and was like, wait, what? That's my chef. And I said, yeah, you didn't know? We never had this conversation. I said, there's a big picture of me in, you know, my judges, you know, chef coat. And he was like, he's fairly new. He's only been with us for about 3 weeks.
Okay.
And he said he never paid attention to it. And so he's like, so you know I had to Google you after that, right? So I was telling my wife how like the energy from him seemed so different, because I was trying to engage him prior to that, and he was just like, you know, just not into me that much. But then he seen me on Fire Masters the other day, and it really excited him. So I guess if you want to find out more about me, just Google me. You know, somebody asked my mom, have you Googled your daughter?
So you get a fire stick, right?
Yeah. Well, the episodes that are airing in Canada, actually the last episode of the season that I'm on, or the first season that I'm on, comes out on Sunday. So once that episode releases, then they'll be giving me the dates for when they'll be available on the streaming platforms, Discovery Plus, Amazon Prime, and whatever other platforms it's on. But yeah, just Google me. A lot of people just show up at the restaurant, and I guess that's really special. It makes me feel good. A lot of times I'm super busy, and it's hard to stop and talk. But a lot of people are seeing me on TV, and so they want to talk about it. And, you know, I just try to consider, you know, what would you be without the people? Right. You know, this is, you know, sometimes you have to, like, when you decide what it is you want out of life, you have to think about, is that really what I want out of life? You know, because, you know, stardom, in a sense, if I can call it that, it's not easy. You know, there is the pressure of, unfortunately, I don't feel like I'm under a lot of pressure from the media standpoint. My energy is put into my restaurant, and I know, and you know, it was just one of those things where I just had to prove to myself, I know that the quality and service that comes out of my establishment will help for the longevity of Dominique Leach, the chef personality. As long as Lexington Betty is putting out what it should be, then the attention will continue to organically come. But bringing me back to that, you know, the thought of the trajectory is just so special because I just really feel like I broke barriers, glass ceilings. I mean, people told me I should quit when I was like messing up in culinary school. And, you know, don't listen to people when they tell you to quit. You know, you just do what's on your heart, because had I not, you know, put more energy into proving other people wrong, and just, you know, being as great as I've been fortunate to become, great of a chef that I've been fortunate to become, and having confidence in myself, we wouldn't be here today. And so, you know, all the special stuff has come just because I had tunnel vision and wanted to be a great chef. So I guess just Google me so you can like read some of the articles. We're doing a burger special, and that came out in the Chicago Food Magazine yesterday. I wrote an article about it. And, you know, I wasn't looking for that. You know, it was just a chef ambassador partnership with a Wagyu beef company. Vander Farms out of Sturgis, Michigan reached out and said they wanted me to be a chef ambassador for their Wagyu beef. And I said, okay. And they said, can you do a burger special for the month of June? I'm like, okay. And now that burger is in the Chicago Food Magazine. Okay. So it's just nothing I was looking for, just that tunnel vision and, you know, doing what I do best. And like, I mean, when they asked me what was going to be on the burger, I literally came up with it in that moment. Like, well, this sounds like it'll be good.
Okay, and so what's on the burger?
It's this burger is so good, guys. You got to try this burger, okay? So it's the Vander Wagyu ground beef, smoked Gouda cheese, caramelized onions, and a roasted garlic aioli that just really brings it home. And it's served with some house-made pickles, got the barbecue seasoned fries. It's so good.
Okay, so outside of beef, do you have anything, turkey burgers?
We don't have a turkey burger, but we have a delicious salmon burger.
Oh.
Yes, it's so good. And that one has a lemon aioli, some avocado, tomato, lettuce, pickled red onions. Yes, oh, yeah, with the extra mile with the pickled red onions. Come have a sandwich if you know. Yeah, and you got, I wish I would have been able to bring some food today, but I'm going to have to surprise y'all, come light the studio up or something.
Right.
You know?
We're waiting.
It's coming soon, real soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like the audience to know?
I don't know. I feel like I kind of put my heart out there today. What would I like the audience to know? Well,
mention your Juneteenth event again.
Yeah, the Juneteenth event. So in the past years, we've done like these big events with like a tent outside and, you know, the DJ, the live band, hookah, we had the game truck and things like that. But let me tell you, that grand opening was so busy, and the first opening month with all the attention that came from, starting with the marketing and then the 2 appearances on Good Morning America, I just couldn't find the energy to do that big tented event again. And so I guess it worked out in our favor too, because Father's Day and Juneteenth land on the same day. So I said, well, let's do something kind of like, you know, creating a vibe, something even like sexy for Father's Day too. And so we're having a day party. We'll have a DJ. We're going to do some karaoke. It's going to be Grown and Sexy versus Trap. So that should be fun. We'll do hookah on the patio. It's BYOB, and the restaurant will be open and serving. So it's going to be a good time. You guys come by. It's just a $10 cover charge. There's the corkage fee on the liquor, but the more the merrier. It's going to be a good time, so certainly come by. But I have to say, I'm so excited about being on the cover of Citizen. It'll be my first cover.
Really?
It'll be my first cover.
Well, you'll do it well.
Deserved.
Thank you so much. And yeah, so I'm super excited about it. This is going to be on the wall in the restaurant.
Wow.
Right.
Thank you.
So thank you guys so much. But yeah, I can't think of anything else. I'll talk to y'all all day, you know. But yeah, I'm just super excited to, you know, be in this moment it's felt like a moment for a long time now, honestly, and I guess that's a really good thing. It speaks to, you know, all of the hard work that has been put into this, and it is certainly hard work. It doesn't stop being hard, but it is fulfilling. It really is. And the best thing about it has been being the underdog. It really has been the most rewarding because, you know, you know what, like I mentioned proving things to other people a few times, but all of this just proved that I just needed to prove it to myself. And so that's the reward today and every day, and I'm happy to be in this space, and thank you guys for having me.
Great, thank you so much for being here.
Remember to make plans to join us again next week for Conversations with the Citizen, the place where real